I'd like to welcome everybody out to another 5-minute webinar. Today we have Sarah Klenke back with us from Wizard of Ads, and she's going to talk to us about brandable chunks, what makes a business brandable. Sarah, what's the big idea here?
Well, the big idea is a lot of people, when they think of what makes a business brandable, a lot of people think of logos as well as slogans and jingles. And one of the bigger parts of branding, not logos, is actually what we call at Wizard of Ads brandable chunks, which does include slogans and jingles. As far as that goes, the brandable chunks are what customers remember when they have a need, which will lead them specifically to your brand. And a lot of these are not exactly what you would think. Next slide. So the Wizard of Ads definition of brandable chunks is a memorable phrase that becomes associated with the business. The most common ones that we come in contact with in daily life are jingles and our slogans, but that's not just it. There's actually more brandable chunks that aren't jingles or slogans. They're just not the ones we recognize the most as consumers. Next slide. So the different types of brandable chunks. Like I've said, slogans and jingles are what we think of most, and that's just because what's the most obvious as a brandable chunk. And I mean, it's because it sticks in your head. Everybody has that one jingle or that one slogan from a brand, usually a nationwide brand or even a local brand, that you just can't get out of your head. It might go away for a few weeks, even years, but it'll still come back. And that's just really good branding. But the other type is consistent phrases. These are the main part of brandable chunks, but the part that you don't think about as a consumer. But many business owners overlook it because it's not what everybody considers to be brandable chunks. And this is in copywriting, both on websites, in your blog, the scripts for TV ads, radio commercials, and even your print advertising. And they should be unique and relevant to your company. Next slide. Okay, so these are the keys to great brandable chunks. And I'll get into details on what I'm talking about as far as the actual reusable and consistent phrases. But they need to be relatable to the consumer as well as your business. They need to be memorable so that they can recall it. It needs to be diverse, so unique. It needs to be something that not everybody's going to say with their business. A lot of companies, their mission statements just kind of seem repetitive, like they copied and pasted it from somewhere else. This is what we're trying to avoid. But most importantly, it needs to be relevant to your business, your product, and your service. Next slide. And here's what I'm talking about. So the important part of brandable chunks is a customer recall. And this is when a customer actually recalls your business based off of the brandable chunk, whether it's a jingle, slogan, or one of these phrases that you repeat through literally everything. But it's through exposure. So the more exposure they get, the more ingrained it is. And over time, they won't realize it, usually, especially with the brandable chunks that aren't slogans and jingles, until, it pops in their head, or they see it on a sign, or they see it in a postcard. And the reason this is so important is because it's what I call prime mental real estate. If you're the first company that's recalled, when they think of a specific need or a specific industry, you've got the highest opportunity for that customer to purchase with you versus the competition they might have thought of second or third, or even more than that. But where can you put these? Blogs, websites, your advertising, like I said, but what they really, really are 15 to 20 unique phrases that truly define your business. And they don't have to be cookie cutter. So don't go and look for other businesses. What are they saying? What really, really defines your business? You need to look at your customers, the target market you're going for, your values in the company, and what you really want to show. What are you trying to tell your customers your company is? The impression you're trying to give, the brand, essentially. Next slide. So these are brandable chunks. I actually want to go into more details later on in a second webinar, but this is just kind of the gist of what are brandable chunks. What can you start thinking in your mind of, what does my business stand for? And how can I take brandable chunks out of my business passions and my business values and create something that I can reuse? And I forgot to touch on this, but they usually are interchangeable. So if you got 15 to 20 of these brandable chunks, you have an unlimited amount of copy you can create with that, because you can just take them and like puzzle piece them together.
Perfect. Thanks, Sarah.
For sure. Thank you.